Good morning. Today I want to ask you a question. I want to talk about a question. It's a question that I've asked myself before. Maybe you've asked yourself this question too. The question is, who is my neighbor? Or the question could be, what is a neighbor? We purchased our home in 2017. The idea of a neighbor was more or less in the minds of my wife and I, but it was only limited experience from growing up or something like that. Apartments do not lend themselves naturally to neighbors, despite the fact that you're sharing walls and parking lots. But what is a neighbor? What does it mean, especially in a time of hurting or distress? What does it mean to be a neighbor? It has to be more than sharing property lines and waving as you pull out of the driveway, doesn't it? To answer the question, at least in part, I have looked to the book of Proverbs. It helps me understand this a little bit more clearly. Proverbs 21:10 says, "A wicked person desires evil. He has no consideration for his neighbor." I don't think of myself as a wicked person outside of my sin nature, and the same is true for you. I don't think about you as a wicked person outside of your sin nature. For this reason, the poetry, the proverb here, tells me that if I'm not a wicked person, my natural response should not be that of a wicked person. It should be the opposite of what it says. It says the wicked person has no consideration for his neighbor. That means that the person who is not wicked does have consideration for his neighbor. I try to take this to heart. It's difficult sometimes, but I try to take it to heart. To consider someone is to think about them, to look out for them, to place them high enough on your priority list in your mind so that as things are going on in the world, there's a filter through, a sieve of whether or not your neighbor is affected. It's to prioritize that thought. When I'm out buying salt for the driveway in winter, I try to pick up an extra bag or two in case my neighbors haven't had a chance to get out yet. When you cook out a big barbecue meal, maybe it's taking a plate across the street just to say hi. Whatever it is, it's exactly what Jesus did on that first Christmas. He considered others above himself and then served. He did the opposite of the wicked person. He considered his neighbor. In fact, considering them enough to die for them. For the next 2 days, so today and then Friday and Saturday, we'll be talking a little bit about what it looks like to serve those around us, to be a neighbor to those around us. These are some interesting days that we are in right now. Serving people around us is a needed area of Christian life in our community. Let's see how the Lord speaks into this situation. See you tomorrow.